you just do for fun. But if you have that bug and you want to go for it and you are going for it, like there's so many people who don't even get that far and like make that choice. So the fact that you're going for a career in the creative field is something to like be so celebrated and be so proud of.
You're listening to Creatives Prevail, unraveling the stories of creative professionals.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Creatives Prevail. I'm your host, Mike Zimmerlich, and my next guest is indie pop artist Leah Nawy. In this interview, we discuss how practice, failing, and getting a formal education has developed Leah's creative process. We also talk about preventing burnout when trying to be consistent, as well as release strategies such as her latest single, Quicksand. Let's get into it. Hey, Leah, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good, thanks. Thank you so much for being on the show. I always appreciate it. We just got chatting just not too long ago here, and sometimes that's what happens where I get press releases all the time, and I go through them and see artists that I really like, and I really connected with Quicksand. I thought it was such a phenomenal single, and definitely wanted to talk more about it. But one of the things I did notice, I want to start off with this first, is that you talk quite a bit about storytelling, and wanted to know more about what that means to you, because storytelling can mean so many different things. So specifically, what drew you to being a storyteller?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like along with being a musician, I've always just really been attracted to words and sentences and poetry and just like the emotions that can evoke from lyrics. So I always say it depends on the musician. For me, if the track is amazing, but the lyrics aren't hitting with me, I usually won't gravitate towards that song. Where some people, it's the complete opposite. They're like, I could not care less what they're saying. And that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be like cerebral or really deep. It just like, even if it's like, hey, call me maybe, I'm like, yeah, that's an awesome hook. It just has to like hit properly. So when I write, I always, the songs that usually take off and continue always are surrounded by like a few sentences, and then that's like the jumping off point for the lyrics in the story. So I'll even usually write like a whole verse and I don't even know what the song's about yet. I'm just like, this feels flows into this, and I just try and hit the flow state to see what's coming out, and then I go back in and I'm like, okay, that's what I'm going to craft around, and then find like the meaning in the story underneath that.
So you start off with the music first, then develop the lyrics around it, or is it vice versa, or just kind of depends?
It'll usually start with the sentences actually, but the sentences will usually have like a melody. Melody and lyrics usually sort of happen at the same time. I'll go in and like rework the melody sometimes, but it's like about the rhythm of the words kind of. So for me, like I've top line a few times and it's really fun, but it's so different because you're like in the box and you're trying to add lyrics to it. And I'm very much like, yeah, the pattern and the rhythm of the sentences is going to inform the melody, and then from there I'll usually add the chords in underneath. But um as it pertains to storytelling, what kind of ends up happening is I don't know exactly what it's going to be about usually when I have those first few sentences. So then when I go in, the story always ends up like relating to my emotions in my life, but it's not even always like directly something that happened to me. It's just like something that feels true to like the emotional core of it, if that makes sense.
So yeah, that does make a lot of sense. And so I'm kind of curious though, is that, so it sounds like it's a very fluid, if you will, process where one thing will kind of essentially lead to another to uh, ultimately find out what direction you want to go down. Are you the kind of person that will start writing an idea and then will see it to completion right away, or do you just start writing down sentences or ideas and then go, okay, I don't know where else to leave with this right now, I'm going to put it on the side and maybe revisit it at some point in the future?
Definitely more the second, even if it's not like it's off to the side for a long time. I very rarely, like only a few times in my life, have sat down and been like, I'm going to write the song and finish it today. It'll usually be like a section, and then I'll go back to it and keep trying to add to it. And because there is the thing about, you can't just sit back and wait for it. the inspiration, and for, it certainly isn't like, oh, it all flows through me. I'll come up with an idea, and then I do have to do the work of coming back to it and like picking away at it and figuring out how to develop it. But yeah, the single before Quicksand, Mixing Patterns, I wrote over like a year. Like the bridge, I was waiting for the bridge, and then finally something that felt good came. But in that sense, I don't force it. I definitely do, like, I'll just keep coming back to it until the right thing comes.
Do you write every single day, or do you dedicate a time where this is my creative time and block everything else out? Or is it more that I'm inspired at this moment, so everything is going to
Right.
be put aside to start writing?
It depends. I definitely, some months it's like, oh, I'm writing every day and I have all of these ideas, and then, oh God, now I have like 60 unfinished ideas. But that's just so great. Like the door is open, and whenever that happens, I just try to allow it, because then there will be months where I haven't written for like 3 months, and then that's when you can go back and be like, okay, I have these things I can add to it. And I feel like, when I went to grad school for songwriting and production, I would talk to some of my professors. I feel like there's this misconception that, if, as a songwriter, if you're not writing all the time, that like something is wrong, or that, oh, I've lost it, or I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But I've found it's more normal for many people, and myself included, where it's like you have a few months of like heavy creation and you're in it and it's obsessive. And then you have a few months where, you got to hit your visuals and your shows and, go to the birthday parties and do the other stuff. And so that's completely normal as well. It's all part of the process.
It sounds like I can tell how passionate you are about writing specifically, but just making music in general. Was that something that was in you even when you were a kid?
Yes, definitely. My dad's a musician, like by hobby, so I always already grew up around pianos and guitars and listening to like his Beatles records and Stevie Wonder and all of that stuff. And then so I begged for piano lessons when I was like 4 or 5, and my dad was like, "Okay, if you're serious, you will sit down and play like yourself and try to learn some things yourself." And then a year goes by, and then finally it's like, okay, she's serious, like we'll give her piano lessons. And then it was the same with singing lessons. But I'm so grateful for that, because it forced me to really like, yeah, like I really want to do this, like I'm gonna go earn it and like explore and play. By the time the lessons came, I was so ready and I was so excited. So I did that. And then when I was around 12, I was like, all right, this is boring. I want to sing and be on stage and play with songs. So I pivoted to like rock bands, and I grew up on the Jersey Shore. So I went to music programs like in Asbury Park, and I would spend like 8 hours a week there, like in the Zeppelin cover bands and like doing all of that. And that's really where it all grew. And I couldn't tell, like at that age, I was just like, oh, this is what we all do. But now looking back, I'm like, gosh, that was the foundation for everything. It let me perform, it let me learn how to play with other people, how to like interact in a band, all of it. Yeah.
I really appreciate that your father mentioned to you when you said that you want to play piano that you had to figure some things out yourself first before getting you lessons.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very interesting because I can see how that can be almost like a test, if you will, to see how serious you are that you want to learn this particular instrument. Because if you have lessons, right, then you can just go with the flow of the lessons, right, and just see where things go. But to have that drive and that desire to be completely on your own, to start figuring things out yourself, you are either going to get frustrated and then no longer be interested in pursuing any further, or it's going to force you, as you will, to go even deeper into it to figure those things out. And then at that point, knowing, okay, I really want to learn and I'm going to take upon myself to learn this. Now I can have the structure of lessons to really figure out where I want to go next with this.
Totally. I'm really lucky for that. And he instilled a lot of stuff in me like that. And also, he was at a very early age one of the first people to be like, hey, look at Alicia Keys, look at Lady Gaga. Like, okay, you want to sing? Like, look at them. They're doing it together. Like, this is important. Like, again, he loves Billy Joel. He loves all of these artists that play and sing and write. And it's all like one big thing. Musicianship is just as important as having a great voice. So yeah, I had that mentality and understanding really, really young.
And then when you were deciding at that point in time to go to college, so we're jumping ahead a little bit here.
Yeah.
So you went to a number of music schools, including to Berkeley as well. So can you talk a little bit? I assume that at this point in time, you were continuing this path of I want a career in music.
Yes. So I'll jump slightly before. In high school, I'm doing the rock bands, and that's when I start also writing and bringing that music to bands, and I'm like gigging on my original music and whatnot. Um, and I went to the new school for undergrad, and that was cool because that was like a full performance degree. So that was like bring your musicianship up, bring your performance skills up, like learn how to get in front of a group of people at 10 a.m. and improv over something you haven't heard of. Really, like, learn how to not be embarrassed and go for it is like one of the big takeaways from that degree, even though that might not have been like the point. So that was undergrad. And then I'm still writing a lot, I'm still making music, but I guess I'll get into like the why I went to grad school and how I ended up at Berkeley a bit. I graduated and I have these songs, and I'm like, you know what? I don't really like, what does it mean if I have all of these songs but I have no way to like share them with other people? Like, I don't know how to record them, I don't know how to make them tangible. Like, I can play them, but I just feel like I have this block between the writing and having it be something I can share. So I spent that whole summer just like on Ableton failing every day. Like, midnight would hit and be like, all right, you got to do this every day. I do that the whole summer. Fall comes around and I hear of the Berkeley NYC Master's Program, which is all songwriting and production, almost the complete opposite of my grad school. And I was like, you know what? Let me just go check out this open house, like see what it's about. I don't want to go back to school, but it looks pretty cool. I show up at the power station and I like fall in love with the whole thing. And so I end up at Berkeley, where it was like every week we're showing songs we not just that we've written but that we've produced out, like to a degree, half song every week, a recording you're playing in front of a group of people. And oh my god, it changed my life. Like, it forced me to really have something tangible week by week, and to like go through the weeks where something was awful and something was good and figure things out. And then by the end of the program, I ended up with a 5-song EP that I had produced and written like all by myself. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's incredible. And good for you for pursuing further education, because what I really appreciate of what you have accomplished is that you've done both. And I'm a very big believer in this too, is you want to take it upon yourself to try things out. You want to fail. And I love that you mentioned about Ableton specifically, of how you intentionally essentially failed so many times to understand it, but then continued afterwards by getting a formal education so that you can get that structure of, okay, I understand the practicality of it, but now I can start looking into the higher concepts, if you will, of where I can take this now. And now you're gathering from others' experience, and then again having that essentially that flow, if you will, of this is where I can go next with this, and actually start developing this into something that's professional.
Yeah.
And no. It's like I'll just say, like I just really appreciate the fact that you've gone through those steps for yourself.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I mean, don't get me wrong, when I first started in that program, and even before the program, when I first started trying to produce and just record things like just guitar or just piano and vocal even, it was hard. Like, I would cry. I would be like, "Oh God, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, how am I supposed to?" And then, "Oh God, I'm in this program and I really don't know what I'm doing, and how am I gonna like get through to the other side of this?" But I think my main motivation was also like, one, just by listening to music, realizing how much like production and songwriting and mix, all of it is intertwined. It like all creates the song. Like, if you write a song, what happens in the recording is going to dictate how the song actually goes. Like, you can make the song a million ways. And then I wanted to be able to have a vocabulary to like communicate with other people what I want my music to sound like. And I felt like the only way to do that was to try and figure it out myself. So,
I also appreciate the fact too that you took upon yourself to learn the different skill sets. It wasn't just performance, it wasn't just songwriting, it was you incorporated essentially the entire process from the initial writing of the song to actually producing and recording it. So I think that's also extremely beneficial as well, because whether you decide to do all those steps yourself or not, it's important to at least understand them so that maybe in the future, if you decide that I want to have a producer, you'll understand how that process works. So you're going to come to that producer more prepared, and also making sure that the producer is doing what they're supposed to be doing as well, which is also extremely important.
absolutely. That, and like, I still love to collaborate. I'm collaborating all the time. Like, now if I start producing something, that doesn't mean by the end of it it's just going to be like produced by me. I still understand, as much as I'm doing this stuff, there are people where like they're better, and I want to work with people who are better in that and collaborate and get the song to be the best place it can be. But now I can get in there and like talk about the reverb and say, hey, can we like send this thing to this thing? And yeah, I can like get much more hands on with it. And I feel like producers and mixers appreciate when the artist has an idea and a sense of like what they want to do, and then I can say it, and then they can do it even better than I can, and it becomes like this perfect marriage. Versus like, um it's okay, like, obviously, if an artist doesn't know these things, and it's a lot, and I was lucky that I ended up really loving it. But you gotta, I think, to have like a really personal sound, you should try and really have a handle on like what you like and what you don't like, and be able to like form opinions over the sound of your music beyond like the writing of it. So, yeah.
Okay, so now you've been gathering all this experience for yourself over many years at this point in time, and you got to the point where now you understand the production of it, to how to record it and get it to the vision that you want, that's not just yourself performing the song. Talk about releasing your first single, because there's another step in there, as far as, okay, that's great, but then how do you get it out there? And more importantly, because getting it out there is easy, right? It's like you can use CD
Yeah, these
Baby,
days.
DistroKid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so easy these days to just get it uploaded and click a button and boom, it's up there. But getting people to actually know about it is a whole different ballgame. So can you talk about your experience releasing your first single?
Yeah, so I released my first single after graduating college. I was terrified. I was like, oh my goodness. And I feel like the first single artists, and I get why, like some of my friends who are starting out, artists can get really into like, the first single is going to like represent everything about me and my sound and who I am. And oh my God, there's so much writing on this. And that was definitely like the boat I was in that summer. I was like, oh my God, this has to be perfect. But so I kept putting it off, actually, and I kept like toying around, and I wasn't sure. And then one day I was at the dog park with my dog, and I was literally standing there, and I was like, you know what? I just need to get dates on the calendar and do it, and then just follow it like I'm still in school. So I set a release date, I set a photo shoot date, and I set like a gig date. I reached out to a few of my friends and helped me like book a date that would happen a few weeks after the release. And I was just like, okay. And I did that all in like 20 minutes. It was like very manic, like, just do it, Leah. Like, you've been waiting for so long. I laid all that out, and then from there, I was able to just like follow it, and like the decision had almost been taken out of my hands by me. Like, all right, it's happening. You've uploaded. You're gonna do it. Like, the ball is rolling. And all the judgments I had and like fears I had over the song and if people were gonna like it and all of that, like, it all like disappeared when the song came out. Like, people want to love and support your music, at the very least, like starting with your community and the people around you. Those were the only people listening to like my song, when I dropped my first song. And people were like excited and telling me things they liked about it that like I hadn't heard or I forgot about because I've been like so obsessed about the fine details and stuff. So from there I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like I love sharing. Like people are so, and obviously it's like my friends and my parents, but still like those are people in your corner who are going to keep on telling like more and more people. So really organically like that is how I started in New York. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I really like the fact that you decided, you know what? I'm in the park right now. It's never, if I don't set myself dates, it's never going to happen. And then
Yeah.
within 20 minutes, and I just wanted to emphasize that 20 minutes, you figured it all out. And
Right.
honestly, I've been representing artists for well over 16 years at this point in time. And I got to tell you, that's sometimes if you just get yourself to focus, you can plan things out within 20 minutes. Seriously, if you take everything out that's distracting you and just focus on that, you can knock out a plan in that time frame, and all the details can be figured out later. But just having
Totally.
a realistic plan of action in place where again you're releasing this and also setting those expectations, I think is important too, because like you said, you had your community that you can rely on, but also for friends and family. But that was you mentioned before about some artists who are thinking about this, how this is going to define me. You can't think about it in that way. Your music style is going to change. The first
Yeah.
song that you release usually not going to be your best. The whole point is that you get better as you go along the way. So it's better to get that song out the door and just see what happens rather than trying to get something to be perfect, which I assure you will not happen. It'll
Yeah,
never be
yeah.
perfect.
Totally, and you need the practice. And like this is something that I still have to teach myself to this day because it can get overwhelming so quick, especially when you're doing it all yourself. It's like, okay, I made the song, but like now I have to like promote it and I have to do this and I have to do that and like it can all feel like a million things. But it's true, like if you just give yourself those hard, even if you don't hit them, now you have a plan and then all of a sudden you can like break things down step by step, and if I send like one email a day, by the end of the week I have like all of the things, at least like the ball's beginning to roll in all of those areas. And I think that's really, especially like from gigging to producing, that like there's so much like that's the only way you can think about it, or you're just like you're gonna get overwhelmed. And you have to remember like you're supposed to be enjoying this, which is something I've had to like come back around to. Like you don't want to be stressed about all of those things. You want to like, as you said, set like realistic goals and scheduling so you can feel like relaxed and enjoy yourself and like you're going at the right pace.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying all these different things because I know how stressful it can be to do those type of releases, but also too, as you mentioned, missing the date. Sure, I mean, you may not want to put yourself in that mindset because then
Right,
it'd be like,
right.
just like, it's fine, we missed it. They'll come out next week,
Yeah.
right? But to have a date in mind and then reverse engineer it, where if this is the date that I want to release, what needs to be done ahead of time to hit that? And then is it realistic for me to be able to accomplish all these things up to that? Because that also will tell you too, right? Is that if I can do all these different things that I want to accomplish before the single drops, can I do that within this particular time frame? And that also will depend too, where do I want a release show around this? Do I
Yeah.
want to tour afterwards? Do I want to have a music video associated with this single? Right? Those obviously those things will make things a little bit more much more complex. Not a little bit, much more complex in comparison to I want to release a single and test the market, right? And both are completely legitimate, but also will set those realistic expectations on yourself depending upon when you want to have that deadline.
Completely. Like you can't be, you could, but it's not like, oh, in 2 weeks I'm gonna have, like it takes time. And from the time you upload the song, if you want to like promote it properly and all that, you need at least a month, like before everything needs to be done, at least a month before like anyone's even gonna hear about it. So yeah, it's not like, oh, I need to set all of these dates for soon right now. It's like actually better you afford yourself more time. You're like in 2 months, like this is the big goal, and then you just like do what you need to do week by week to get it done. And sometimes you hit it and it's awesome, and sometimes you don't, and you're like, okay, I like bit off more than I can chew, or like things happen, and then you just go for it again, because that's the other like big process with all of this that I'm learning as I keep releasing. Like every release, it's like this is my whole world, and then it's out, and then you literally like completely restart it again and again and again, because you want to like keep sharing what you're making.
So that actually brings me into the next step, which is the consistency,
Yes.
because that is so important. And I believe me, I know from personal experience how difficult that can be of being consistent, right? Especially if you're doing something on a creative level. And I know for you that you've been relatively consistent on your releases. I saw that you release about at least 2 to 3 singles per year. So I would love to know more about your process on being consistent and being able to consistently release a number of singles throughout the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I'm honest, I wish it was more. I wish it was even more like consistent, like on that like 4 or 5 week flow that I see a lot of people doing. But as you said, like life and all the things can come and go. But I think the important part is one, that you're always like trying to get like the next one out. You like don't allow yourself, and which I've done at times, but for the most part, you try not to let yourself like slack on that. Like it just should always be something that's like in the rotation of something you're trying to accomplish. Um, so from the time I released my first song, that was kind of just the whole goal. Honestly, I like am finally starting to finish the songs out, not just on a song to song basis, and I'm like learning, and I can plan like a few, maybe 2 to 3 like at a time roughly now. But at the beginning it was really just, I have all these songs, I'm just going to keep trying to finish them, and then as soon as they're done, I'm going to do what I need to do to like keep getting them out. And then you just get better at it as you keep doing it, because you like learn what to do, and you learn what you need to do, and you can set up the things. You can tell your friend, hey, on Tuesday we're going to go run around with a camera and a speaker and just get anything so I can like post the song with the thing, and it ends up being that simple. Again, like I said, like I think, and I'm like a big overthinker, so it can all just feel really intimidating every time. But then you go and do it, and you're like, it's done. Like I'm ready to release it, and then that ends, and then yeah, I guess with the consistency, I think the important part is once you do it, it's tempting to be like, I've done it, like, yay, look at me go. And that's when you need to like get back on the saddle and keep doing the next thing. And I think this year I'm finally learning, like, as one song comes out, the next song is already like in motion. And I think that's how, and also I think it like makes you feel more like confident and connected to your art and like your career and what you're doing. Like it's a lot of work, but also you're like, oh my gosh, like look at me go, I'm like doing it. And the motivation is also like, you never know, the next song is going to be the song that like changes everything. So that's like a big thing for me too. I just want to keep getting them out and like keep seeing what happens. So
When you do feel that way, where you feel overwhelmed or intimidated, I would like to talk about that actually a little bit more, if you don't
yeah.
mind. And when you do feel that way, what is your thought process to help you overcome that? Do you just accept this is how you feel, then take a break? Do you embrace it and just push through the resistance? What do you go through to help you continue on?
Yeah, I guess, it depends. And it's obviously like, especially now these days with social media and like all the musicians I know, and you go online and all you're seeing is like everyone's accomplishments all the time. And it's so easy, like after you accomplish something, to immediately be like, oh, but I don't have this thing that this person's doing, or this or this. And then you're like, so um one thing I do is definitely like, okay, time to unplug. Like even if I post something, like, all right, now I'm not gonna look at it for like a few hours, and just go like exist and be proud of that thing. So one is like giving yourself like props for everything that you have done, like even if you're just starting out, like props for even finishing that song, like all these things are like big steps that we can diminish because we're trying to hit like this huge goal and we don't realize like, so that's something I try to tell myself. Like every single thing I do is like a goal I'm hitting that I should like celebrate and be kind to myself about. So it really is just honestly, it's like positive self talk in moments like that. Like that would be my biggest, I guess, like advice or just what I do personally. And then also reminding yourself, like, you can only do so much every day. And as long as you've done like something that you feel like you can be proud of, like you've shown up and you've tried today, then that just remind yourself that that's going to keep like compounding. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think I know for myself, I go through the same process of that. You get that resistance on you, and taking breaks is so important, and also appreciating the accomplishments that you've done and giving yourself some grace as far as what you did end up doing today, or when you did release a song, whatever the case is to congratulate yourself that you did accomplish something.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. And then again, like you said, taking walks, cannot stress that enough. Take a walk, go
Yes.
outside,
Yes.
walk around, do something, disconnect yourself from everything else. And I'm not going to even say specifically social media. I think just disconnecting from everything.
Yeah.
Right? No distractions, no concerns about what everyone else is up to, and just be in the moment for yourself and just appreciate where you're at right now, what you have accomplished, in the excitement for what comes next. And I think just getting yourself into that mode can helps tremendously as far as continuing to move forward. Because I mean, believe me, it's easier said than done. There are many times where I get super depressed and I don't want to do anything for the entire day. I get it.
Completely. And then that's like the fine line with motivation, I find. It's like you want to be like thinking about it and on the ball and like getting work done every day, blah blah, but you don't, but you also want to find the balance of it not like overwhelming you, and then that's all you can think about. And like I've seesawed back and forth on that like so many times. And so taking breaks and like allowing yourself breaks and then allowing yourself times where you're like, it's time to grind, and then being able to find that balance is really difficult and also probably key to like maintaining in any creative field, like anything you're trying to do where you're like your own business almost, it's a
You
hard
are
one.
doing running as an art as a creator. I'll say as a creator in general, but especially as a
Yes,
music artist, you are an entrepreneur. Whether you want to admit it or not,
I
you are that.
know.
You're running your own business. That's what you're doing. Like straight
Totally.
up.
Totally.
It's interesting too because I appreciate the fact that you mentioned about the days that you're grinding and then other days that maybe not. And one of my favorite analogies is there's a like like a basic productivity graph, and there's the first graph shows what people think productivity is, and it's like every single day of the week, and there's like a bar, and it's exactly the same every single day.
Right.
And the very next image is what productivity actually is, and you'll see that's all over the place. Like one day it's like 80%, the next day it's like 10%, the next day is like maybe 40%, and the next day is like 50-60%, and the next day is like 30%, right? And that's the thing that we have to understand about human behavior is that it takes a very select few. Some are like that. Some are like at 100% every single day. And
Unicorns.
the unicorns, right?
Yeah.
Most of us are not like that. Most of us are not able to function at that high of a capacity. So there are days that are going to be much more productive than others, and that's okay. And I think we need to understand and I think realize when we are not at our peak that it's okay. And then, okay, we're not at our peak right now. What else could we be doing instead of wallowing and feeling depressed? Maybe there's something else that I can do. Again, maybe it's going out for a little while and doing something else, or maybe being productive in a little bit of a different way. I find sometimes it's serene for myself to just go clean and
Yeah.
organize.
Yeah. Totally.
Like low level stuff, right? It's like I can't deal with high level creativity right now or thinking about release strategies or all this stuff. I'm just gonna like, I'm just gonna chill and do some laundry or
A
something. I
hundred
mean, just like
percent. I'm
very
gonna make
low
a nice
level.
meal. 100%. And I also think it's like sometimes life happens, or like you got to make money that month, like more than
Yep.
normal. And like I've had times where like 2 months have gone by, and I've been like, shit, I haven't like done a thing for the next release or like, and that is so normal. And I think the thing that like proves the most that like you want this and you're going for it and that you could applaud yourself for is like getting back into it after like you have those slumps, and like getting back into the flow of like making it a normal part of your routine, and like still having a healthy relationship with it all. It's difficult, but I think like, knock on wood, who knows with life, but I think I'm finally in a place where I'm starting to have it be innate enough, like in my day to day or in my week to week, where like I can find pockets of time to do the music. I can find pockets of time to go take a walk, and just letting it be. I think I like let go of like the you have to get, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to, and just be more like, okay, you want to do this, like you're excited to do this, like it seems scary, but like just keep going for it. I like really think cheerleading yourself is like the best mentality to be even more productive than you would be if you were like, holding yourself at such like a strict schedule with like that productivity graph.
Absolutely. I do want to mention though, besides taking breaks, of course, is
Yes.
when you are definitely on the grind and pushing
Yeah.
things out. And I definitely want to talk, of course, about your latest single, Quicksand, which is
Yeah.
amazing, by the way. I talked about this before. And so talk about more about this release. Like talk about Quicksand, what it's about, anything different that you did with this release in comparison to your prior releases.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the kind words about Quicksand. It is a song that I had been really excited to put out, like amongst all my songs for a really long time, like since I started making it. Um, and it's a song that allowed me to like explore a lot with production and like the relationship between production and music. And it's one of the first songs where I was like recording it and producing it out and writing it at the same time, like in the box. I had started writing it with the guitar, the verse, and some of the chorus, but then that's all I had. And then I threw it in and I started. And when I went to start recording it, I was like, you know what? I don't want it to just sound like me with the guitar. I mean, I love that stuff. So many of my songs are like that and will always be like that. I was like, but what can I do to like make this different and play around? So I remember like my brother came over and he was like, "What is that?" And it's just the bass line and it's quarter notes and it's like dum 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 dum. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna like try to build on top of this and see where it's going. And lo and behold, Quicksand comes along, and speaking with to like the form of that song is something that I'm really proud of, and I love like the arrangement because it is just like a verse chorus, but I really love how every section is different and it's like over the same chords, but the instrumentation and the production in each section is different, and that's something I couldn't have accomplished like just with the guitar. And then when I didn't know what to do, I was like, "Oh, acapella section, like let's go, like let's explore." Like the name of the game of the song was explore, and I think that's how um I ended up finding like my favorite parts of the song is like through all of that. And then in terms of like what the song is about, I was listening to Dock of the Bay, and the first line of that is like sitting here resting my bones, or like one of the lines. And then I started writing, and I was like, oh my gosh, resting your bones. Like, what a cool visual. Like, what a cool idea. Sometimes sentences you've known, like, just hit you, you hear them differently. First line song, I don't know how to rest my bones, because that's what I was thinking about. I was like, what does that mean? Like, that sounds really relaxing. Like, and I don't know how to rest my bones is how that the whole song was built off of that first line. Like going back to the beginning of our talk, I was like, there's something there I can like build on. So yeah, that's like where it started. And then get to the chorus, and I'm realizing like I'm talking to me. Like, I am talking to me. I'm talking to me through the POV of like me as a child, as me now, as me in the future, like warning myself about like what I know. And it's just like an exploration through time, through my lens. Yeah.
That's amazing. How often do you find that your songs are based upon inspiration from other elements, whether it's songs or just mediums in general?
It depends. Sometimes I don't realize until after, or I'm like, oh, I was totally like doing that thing. But there has been a few times, like, I have a song called I Was a Flower, and I had been listening to a lot of Sasami, who I love, and she has I Was a Window. And it wasn't until like a month or two after that song comes on, I was like, oh, that's like where I got that phrase. Like, that makes so much sense. Or, later I'll be writing like in mixing patterns. I was really into like same with Quicksand. Like I really love section changes and like playing with form and the end of that song like completely switches into this other thing at the end and I was like, "Oh, that I took from like this Foxygen song that I was obsessed with in college." And then of course you make it your own, but yeah, I feel like the times that I'm most excited to write is after I've like passively listened to a bunch of music. I'm not putting music on like, okay, I'm gonna put this on so I can like start writing. It's like I've been walking or I'm cleaning and all of these I'm like, this song's so good, this song's so good. And then it like you don't realize your mind is like prepped for that musical creative zone. So the answer is yes, inspiration constantly, whether it's conscious or not conscious.
So we'll definitely make sure we have a link to the single in our show notes. But is there anything else that you wanted to mention that you have coming up? Anything on the docket?
Yeah, well for now I want to say please go listen to Quicksand if you haven't. Give it a try because it's some of like the truest music creation I've found to like me and who I am as an artist to date. And it's a lot of blend of the things I love, like has the Alabama Shakes thing with like the big high catchy melodies and the vocal stacks and the big electric guitars, but then it has like elements that are synthy and more electronic, and I'm really proud of it and I really love it. And then there's going to be more music really soon. I actually am gearing towards my first EP finally. Which
Fantastic.
I'm really excited about. I'm aiming for the spring. I don't have exact dates yet, but I have the next singles and the first big group of music to put out as a collective before the summer comes, which I'm really, really excited about. So that's everything I'm working on right now. I'm planning the spring shows out. When I get back out with my original songs, I just played my first So Far show last week, which was so fun.
Nice. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It was so great, and it like reinvigorated my um yeah, just like my connection to my own songs I've had forever. It's so funny how just like a new audience and a few months away from doing it can do that. So lots
That's
of
so
big
cool.
plans as the weather gets nicer.
For a quick reference for anybody that doesn't know what So Far is, So Far Sounds is an organization that they put on essentially, if you will, living room shows or living room concerts. It's not always in the living room. That's just the initial concept of it, and it's all over the country. I think they actually are global now too,
Yeah.
and so they have artists of every single level that do these kind of things. And I've not only witnessed a couple of them myself and attended them, but I've also hosted one too,
Oh,
and
cool.
it's such an amazing experience. It's like everyone just kind of chills, you hang out, you bring blankets, and you just all hang out, and it's just a wonderful time. So that's a very very cool thing that you were part of.
Yeah, thanks. And it was so fun because you don't know who else is on the bill. You don't know who's
Yep,
coming. They don't know who they're going to come see. So everyone is just there on the back of loving music and like wanting to discover and like really listen to like new artists. So it was a really, really great experience.
So we'll wrap up here with a couple of fun questions. So
Yeah.
the first question I have for you is, what was the very first concert that you ever went to?
Ooh, it was Ariana Grande when she
Ooh,
was on Victorious with her red hair, like just as her first single came out. Like not I'm not like the biggest Ariana like fanatic now or anything like that. But when I was little, I was like, this girl has talent. And I would like watch her YouTube videos, and she played the tiny Count Basie Theater of Red Bank, New Jersey. And I was there, and then a year later, she's a big superstar. So I'll keep that small flex.
that is a very cool flex. I like that flex. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Do you have a go-to artist right now that you're listening to?
Oh, I've been obsessed with the new Wolf Alice record, the latest one.
Nice.
Yeah, I've always liked Wolf Alice. I've always listened to them, but this new record, it is so good, and it's been out for a bit now. But that's my go-to right now. So inspiring. I absolutely love it.
If you were only able to give one piece of advice to, I'll say this for a fellow artist, we'll be very specific here, to a fellow music artist, what would that one piece of advice be?
I guess it would be like, oh God, I don't not just the most basic. Like it would really just be to keep creating and don't forget to like have fun with it and be proud that you're doing something different that's hard and that people are not going to get and that people are going to like just think of it as like your silly side project or something you just do for fun. But if you have that bug and you want to go for it and you are going for it, like there's so many people who don't even get that far and like make that choice. So the fact that you're going for a career in the creative field is something to like be so celebrated and be so proud of. That's what I would say.
That's great advice. I couldn't say it better myself. Well, thank you so much again for being on the show. Really do appreciate it. We'll definitely make sure that we have a link to your latest single, Quicksand, and can't
Yes,
wait for your
please.
EP to come out as well. So,
Thank
congratulations
you.
again. That's a great accomplishment.
Thank you. I really appreciate. Thank you for having me. As I mentioned before, my first podcast, so I'm excited slash nervous to hear my own speaking voice. But I
No,
had such a great time. I had a great time.